Mario Kart DS is one of the most beloved games in the Mario Kart franchise because of its amazing refinement to the Mario Kart formula, fun strategies you can use like snaking, and even a huge brand new mission mode with its unique bosses. But would it be possible to get 3 stars on every single cup, unlock every single character and card customization, while also getting 3 stars on every single mission mode in Mario Kart DS in just 24 hours? Well, that's what I'm gonna try today, so let's find out! So I decided that my main objective would first be to progress enough into the Grand Prix mode to unlock Dry Bones, since he's by far the best character in the game, which you get by receiving a gold trophy in the 50cc Special Cup. And since Dry Bones weren't available yet, I decided to just use my boy Luigi instead in the meantime, and headed straight into the first cup. So if you played Mario Kart DS before, you might already know of something called snaking. But if not, it's basically the strategy exclusive to Mario Kart DS that allows you to continuously maintain a boost when driving in a straight line by just maintaining a drift back and forth. It's a bit harder to do with just a standard kart, but if I were to complete this run in just 24 hours, I'd need to learn how to do this as soon as possible. But even without it, I still managed to get first place on every single Mushroom Cup race while getting 2 stars. And how you get stars in this game is a bit different from, for example, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which most of you probably are used to. And it's generally just a real pain in the ass in this game, as it's not based on only placement alone. But you also more or less have to drive perfectly, not go off-road, not fall off the stage, not hit many obstacles, while generally just being a near perfect driver, which would more or less just mean I'd have to get really good at this game to be able to 100% it, especially in this short of a time span. But for now I just ignored my star count and focused specifically on getting Dry Bones. So onto the Flower Cup, I decided to try using Peach for a bit, and she actually felt much more comfortable to use in off-road scenarios, which was perfect for this track, since literally everything here is off-road. It's also in the Flower Cup you'll find one of the most well-regarded Mario Kart levels of all time, namely Waluigi Pinball, which might just be the thematically best Mario Kart stage ever created. It's just so insanely cool racing on the inside of a pinball machine, where you actually get to follow the path the pinball takes as they make their way towards the main pinball section itself, and just the extremely dynamic nature of the machine itself is just extremely cool, especially for a handheld Mario Kart game, where the gold standard up until now is basically just entirely flat level design. So after getting through the Flower Cup, I decided to try doing 100cc for a bit, even though this wasn't technically optimal since I still didn't have Dry Bones, which you would unlock through 50cc. The first level of the Star Cup was DK Pass, and I tried using Toad this time around, and it's very worth mentioning that the difference in weight classes in this game is insanely huge and very significant. So if you get even slightly touched by a heavier driver than yourself, you'll get absolutely launched as a lightweight, which means you'll have to be a lot more careful when driving around other players, especially on later stages like Rainbow Road. But otherwise, DK Pass passes by smoothly, and we're on to TikTok Clock, which has always been one of my favorite Mario Kart levels thematically. It's just so insanely cool to drive inside what seems to be the machinery of the clock, clearly inspired by the Super Mario 64 level by the same name. And Mario Circuit DS is probably one of my favorite Mario Circuit levels in the entire franchise. It's just super fun to drive on in terms of its super varied layout and enemy placements. Last up we have another one of Mario Kart DS' most iconic levels in Airship Fortress, which is just an absolute blast all the way through, both thematically, gameplay wise and musically. 11 out of 10 level, and a huge shame it wasn't brought back in a lot of other Mario Kart games. And next up we got the first Retro Cup of the game, and actually the first Retro Cup in the entire series in fact, as this was something that Mario Kart DS first introduced, the Shell Cup. Donut plays it like the most wishly bland level of all time, with a super basic track layout, so nothing super interesting to mention here. But it's still insane how we haven't gotten a remastered version of Moo Moo Farm in future Mario Kart entries. It's basically all just Moo Moo Meadows, so justice for Moo Moo Farm. And in deep contrast to Donut Plains, Peach Circus is an insanely vibrant course with a lot more interesting track layout that actually challenges you as a player with his super erratic and sharp swings. This is honestly one of my favorite basic Mario Kart levels, and Luigi Circuit from Double Dash is pretty fun too. Although the track layout is pretty basic, I really like the idea of combining both directions of a road into a single big road, so you can actually see other drivers pass by on the other side. Now over to Donkey Kong's favorite cup, and that's of course the Banana Cup, where we got another super boring track, followed by one of my favorite tracks of all time, Frapp's Snowland. This is probably one of the single most banger snow themed tracks in the entire franchise, along with Rosalina's Ice World. It's also super fitting to use Yoshi here, given a giant Yoshi snowman looming in the distance of the stage. Also, it's kinda creepy how the snowman here seems sentient. Bowser's Castle is also an absolute banger track too, and it really makes me miss the tricking function the future entries has, as this stage has a ton of boost ramps, and it kinda just feels empty not being able to do cool tricks on them. Lastly, baby park is chaos as you'd expect. Next up on the list, we got the last of the normal cup, starting off with Wario Stadium, followed by another Mario character named Track. But unlike Wario Stadium, we just cut is a normal Extreme Sports Stadium with the Wario name plastered on it for seemingly no reason. Peach Garden actually makes a whole lot more sense to Peach's character. Both stages are really good for their own reasons, and the longer you get into the game, the more off-roading opportunities the game provides you with. So compared to the earlier stages in the game where there were basically only drivable roads, you now have a lot more shortcuts you could utilize to catch up, generally making the races a lot more tense and giving them a lot more close calls. We also have what's possibly the best Bowser's Castle ever made in the Special Cup. And it's honestly such a crime that it's never returned in any Mario Kart game since, because this is generally such a fun and well-designed level, it's insane. Starting off with some light twomp obstacles and a sharp turn, followed by a giant rotating platform, leading into a spiral tower up to a rotating pillar you have to balance across to get access to some huge moving platforms. It all just culminates into such an amazing and interesting driving experience. Please Nintendo, bring this track back into more Mario Kart entries in the future. Lastly, we got another one of Mario Kart's most iconic levels, namely DS Rainbow Road in all its beautiful glory. Honestly, it's so weird that they didn't include this for the booster course patch for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, given this level basically introduces anti-gravity sections before anti-gravity even was a thing in Mario Kart. Now, this section does make the levels a lot harder because if you get hit by an item in the loops, you're basically just entirely screwed. But now that the Special Cup is complete, we finally unlock the meta character Dry Bones. Now we will just have to unlock the third card option to get the best combination in the game. And to unlock that, you have to get the gold trophy in every Nitro Cup using 100cc, which I were luckily almost done with. So I quickly raced through Koopa Beach, Choco Mountain, Luigi Circuit and Mushroom Bridge, which gives us the last Nitro Cup. We start off with Choco Island 2, an absolutely horrible level where you're just constantly gliding around and getting screwed over by an endless sea of mud and bumps in the road. This might easily be my least favorite level in the entire game, but to mitigate its horribleness we have Banshee Broadwalk and Sky Garden, which are both really great levels in their own rights, especially thematically with Banshee Broadwalk. And lastly, Yoshi's Circuit is an absolute iconic classic from Double Dash, although they actually removed some of the shortcuts included in the original track, which is a bit weird, but it might be just due to hardware limitations, so I'll give it a good old pass for that. It's still a great level all around, and you gotta get its creds for being shaped like a Yoshi too, while still managing to be such a fun level to drive on. So finishing all the Nitro Cups finally gives us access to Drive Bomber, meaning we now have the best combination in the entire game. So now it was just a question of getting really good at snaking to get 3 stars on every single cup on every single CC. And honestly, 50cc wasn't really that bad at all, and 100cc went relatively smoothly too. But 150cc and later Mirror Mode turned out to be quite the unexpected challenge. But after grinding for a few more hours and almost hitting the 6 hours of playing mark, I decided to take a bit of a break from the normal Grand Prix and finally start everybody's beloved mission mode. Getting into the first few missions went relatively smoothly as they're generally fairly easy to complete. And even getting 3 stars within the first couple of tries weren't that much of an issue either. So hopefully everything will just continue going this smoothly in the later missions too, right? This is what I like to call foreshadowing. Either way, since I most likely wouldn't be visiting the versus battle mode this time around, it was great to be able to see some of the awesome stages utilized in a few missions too. Like this DS stage is probably the single coolest thing ever made, like ever. Even though the mission itself gave me quite a hard time actually getting 3 stars on it. You even have a mission revolving around Luigi driving backwards through his haunted house, which is quite a lot of fun. And of course the biggest and most important thing you can't gloss over while talking about the mission mode is of course the bosses, which is really what takes mission mode above and beyond expectations. Like the missions themselves generally range from just fine to good, but the bosses are amazing. Luckily for me, a lot of them are fairly easy to 3 stars too, except the King Boo fight, which gave me quite a hard time, where you have to get all the coins gathered around the stage before the timer runs out. But King Boo is constantly stealing your coins, meaning you have to spend most of the time trying to chase him down. The even bigger issue is that King Boo apparently possesses the most insane ankle breaker tech in the Mario Karting world, so you'll often end up just trying to chase him down again only to completely miss him and be forced to do a one-handed turn to slowly try to chase him down again. But otherwise, getting 3 stars on earlier challenges weren't all that difficult, and at this point we've only used around 12 hours, meaning we had 12 more to go. But for now I just went back to 150cc and Mirror Mode to try to get some more 3 stars completed. And holy shit, the Special Cup turned out to be such a big hurdle level that it's insane. Every time I'd be on a decent run, everything would just entirely collapse at Rainbow Road, without fail. The amount of time a perfect run has been destroyed at Rainbow Road is unreal, and a lot of it comes back to what I mentioned earlier about weight classes in the game having a ton to say. Like hitting another driver on Rainbow Road is basically just an instant game over for Dry Bones here. But on the bright side, I was slowly but surely getting 3 stars on every cup other than the special cup. And at this point I was honestly starting to get a bit more worried about time, since we were slowly approaching the 15-hour mark now. But it was at this time a miracle happened, and I was finally able to 3-star the special cup at mirror mode, meaning the biggest hurdles left now was just getting 3 stars on the normal 150cc special cup and finishing up the remainder of the mission mode. So if we were just fast enough, the challenge might actually be possible. And shortly finally after beating the mirror mode special cup, I actually did it. I was finally able to beat the special cup at 150cc too and get my 3 stars, meaning I now had 3 stars on every single cup and on every single cc. So now all that was left to 100% the game was mission mode. And luckily for me, a lot of the later stages were fairly easy too and didn't take a lot of time to master, with a few exceptions like for example a Boom Mansion coin collection mission or the Luigi Mountain Mall shell sniping. But this smooth sailing wouldn't last forever unfortunately, and the first huge obstacle I faced was mission 4-8, where you had to perform 9 power slides before the end of the lap. And this might not seem that bad, and it really isn't, but to get 3 stars here you basically had to drive flawlessly and dodging every puddle to avoid spinning out. And even when I basically drove perfectly the entire way through, I would only get 1 or 2 stars. So I was stuck on this mission for a long time, just trying to get better and better, but basically nothing I did was working. It felt like I was doing literally everything right, but it still wasn't enough. So I decided to come back to it later after I had unlocked a few more missions, none of which posing a huge issue, but I naturally had to beat 4-8 at some point. So I came back later with a refreshed mind after an hour or two to keep grinding it out. And after maybe an hour or so on this mission, I were finally able to drive perfectly enough for the game to grant me those juicy 3 stars. But since the game didn't really feel merciful this day, it gave me another near impossible challenge in 5-4, where you have to drive through all 10 numbered gates in order with Bowser. And I was yet again stuck here for a long time without any idea what the game actually wanted for me. And to spare you yet another rant, I just locked in again, and after grinding for way too long, I eventually beat it with 3 stars. And everything luckily went smoothly from this point on until I reached 6-9, which posed a little bit of a challenge, but nothing too bad. And it's actually at this point you unlock an entirely new world within the challenge mode you couldn't see before. And after beating all 8 of the new challenges, we get access to the last boss of the game. To beat Wiggly, we have to win against him in a 3-lap race using Mario on Mushroom Bridge. Honestly, this wasn't nearly as much of a challenge as some of the earlier missions, so after just a few tries I beat him while getting all 3 stars, meaning we now had 3 stars on everything in this game. So to answer the original question of whether or not it's possible to beat Mario Kart DS in just 24 hours, my final time ended up being 17 hours and 24 minutes, meaning yes, it's fully possible, but it'll cost you an entire day.